Candied yams are a classic Thanksgiving side dish. Without them, I mean, it really doesn't feel like Thanksgiving dinner, in my opinion. But we can do better than yams. Five years ago, we started growing a garden, pretty decent sized garden space, and we decided to grow acorn squash and butternut squash. Most recently, we grew them vertically, just to do something different and have more space to get them off the ground. So, growing butternut squash, we had lots of them, boxes of them. They would go into our basement, garage, wherever, and we'd work our way through them over the course of the winter until they were gone. They're amazing, they're delicious, they're sweet. Even just simply roasted, they're awesome. But during Thanksgiving, instead of doing yams, we'll have all these butternut squash and acorn squash. So we 86'd the yams and decided to go candied butternut squash. And it's a fantastic change. Everything else stays about the same kind of flavor profile. You know, those warm, cinnamony kind of fall sweet flavor. And we're just changing the vehicle for all that sweet, goodness. So here we go. I'm going to try and go through this nice and time efficiently. Here we go. So your call. You can use butternut squash. I think they're the easiest to get into and cut. Acorns are great. Linked in the description to a video of how to break down acorn squash the most efficient way to be able to dice those guys up. They're really good. So we're going to start with some butternut squash. It depends on how many people you're cooking for. For a squash this big, it's going to make a really nice 8" by 8" square Pyrex dish. And if you're doing Thanksgiving for like 6 people, I mean, if you have 5 or 6 or 8 sides on the table, you don't need too much of this, even if you want to have some leftovers. Okay, let's take this thing apart. So we're going to start by cutting the ends off. And then we're going to split the neck from the bulb. I always try and choose, based on, I have to use what I have, but I usually have a bunch of squashes, so I'll use one that's doesn't have like a really round bulb. It just makes it easier to peel, and I know I'm gonna get, it's gonna be easy to dice too. So, if you go to the market and you've got one that's like got a really big bulb and like a shorter, skinnier neck, that's not the one for you. Try and get one that's got like a big, meaty neck, because we're using butternut squash because it's so much easier to dice up. So we're making this a little bit more, just friendlier, especially if you don't have great knife skills. Easier than working with a kabocha, but kabocha would be great too, or even a blend of a few different squashes would make this a little bit more multi-dimensional. Okay, we've got our neck and the bulb separated. We're gonna use a chef's knife and we're gonna peel the neck. So you can stand it on its end and just follow around, work your way around taking the skin off. You want to take enough off that the little bit of white rind between the skin and the flesh of the squash comes off too. So go around it, take off the skin. The neck is super easy to slice up. So you're going to we're going to dice it into like 1" cubes. Neighborhood, doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be exactly square. A little bit of rough shape is fine because it's going to get baked in a dish. It's cool. So cut off a side that's like an inch slice, and then we're gonna flip it onto its other side. So now we have a broader surface to make slices off of. It'll be more stable, so you're not like trying to get slices off of that guy standing vertically, because once you get to the end, it's gonna be hard to do. So we're taking off these big 1" slices, and then we're gonna slice the 1" slices into 1" strips, and then we're gonna dice those strips into, 1" like cubes. So set those all aside in a bowl or whatever, get them out of your way, and now we're gonna go through the bulb. You're gonna peel it just like you did with the bigger piece. Just go around it with your chef's knife. If you can't quite follow the curve of the bulb, it's okay. When you're done getting it all peeled up, you can take a paring knife and knock off any little bits that you missed. From here, we're gonna take that bulb, we're gonna cut it in half so we can take out the seeds. To make this easier, I mean, you could just stick a spoon in there and work your way around. Cool. I usually take a paring knife and kind of trace out like that seed packet, and then I'll go through with a spoon and just pop it out. I think it's easier that way. Now we have 2 halves that are scooped out. We're gonna take a half, we're gonna put it, carved outside down, and we're gonna make slices. Same, they're gonna be an inch thick-ish, and we'll end up with kind of rainbow, U-shaped, C-shaped, however you want to think about it, curved slices. Then we're gonna take these slices and we're gonna cut them into 1" chunks. If it works for you, you can stack them in 2s, or you just go one at a time. This should go pretty quick. We can mix these in with the cubed pieces, and your call here. So you've got like 2 paths. We can save this for the next day. Like this could be like prepped in advance, and then you can, you know, assemble or roast and do all this on the next day. But I'm doing this all same day. So I'll take all these cubed pieces. They're gonna go on a half sheet tray with parchment paper. I've got an oven preheated to 400 degrees, and I'm gonna spread them out. I'm gonna douse them with some olive oil. How much? I don't know, maybe like 3 tablespoons-ish. I want them coated so they roast really nice. And then I'm gonna season them with salt. You could be, you know, relatively generous. I want the salt to draw out moisture so we can, you know, get them to steam out and then to caramelize in the oven. So salt, olive oil, and then spread them out in the tray so you've got like a nice thin layer for them to roast. And then I'm gonna throw like 3 kind of tablespoon pats of butter. I'm using an unsalted Kerrygold butter here. Into the oven they go. We're gonna roast them at 400 for like 20 minutes. When you take them out, they're gonna look kind of like they're steaming, and they're gonna start to look cooked, but they're not done. You could taste them and they might be, you know, kind of done, but we're looking to get some color here to reestablish some structure. So you can turn them over. I like to, you know, just use like a metal spoon as opposed to like a wooden spoon or a spatula, which has blunt edges. I like to use like a metal spoon just to be able to turn them over, move the outside edge ones more to the middle ones to the outsides. Back in the oven, still at 400 for maybe another 20 minutes. And at this point, we're really just looking to evaporate off any steam and moisture and get them to start caramelizing. And they're not gonna be like dark brown. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking more for like a golden brown. And unfortunately, it's that kind of golden brown that doesn't show up great on camera. So you can see, you know, we've got some nice browned edges. You can taste them, absolutely taste them. And we're looking for them to, you know, have that light brown caramelized flavor, but you can take it back with a spoon, you can mush one, no problem. They're like creamy, they're ready. From here, we're gonna cool them off. And if you decided to do this a day in advance, like if we're thinking about Thanksgiving, there's a lot of projects happening on that day potentially. So you could have your squash roasted the day before, cool it completely, and then put it in like kind of a broad container so it's not like stacked up mushing all over itself. And then you can assemble the next day. I'm doing it same day because I've got time for that. So we're gonna assemble our candy butternut squash, and I'm using an 8-inch Pyrex dish, square, and I'm gonna put down a layer of the squash. And then I'm gonna go brown sugar, cinnamon. I'm usually pretty generous with the cinnamon, I like that. And then some marshmallows and butter. Did I put butter in the first layer? I can't remember. If I am, I am. If I'm not, I'm not. But I'm using, so when I did this, I knew that we had a big bag of the jumbo marshmallows that are great for roasting on the fire, and I just decided to slice them into some discs. And I did this along like the year before. My wife liked it because you kind of get like a crispy disc of marshmallow, and she thought that was cool. The other option, which is more, you know, would be more expected, I think, in this recipe, is the mini marshmallows, which you can get more of a distribution into the butternut squash. So your call, you can go either way. But if you're using the big guys, I might put like 3, maybe 4 on the first layer. And then let's go the rest of our squash to cover. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna season it with cinnamon, brown sugar, and it's really kind of to taste. We don't wanna, I mean, butternut squash is pretty sweet. So, you know, maybe like nice seasoning of sugar because we want that to kind of become a little bit of a syrup. But, you know, maybe be a little conservative. A lot of sweet things happening on a Thanksgiving meal, right? And then I'm gonna go more slices of, or more discs of my marshmallow, maybe 4 or 5 or something. And then a couple pads of butter, and then pecans. And we're gonna put some, I just have untoasted, because they're gonna get toasted in the oven, pecan halves that I crushed up. And you can distribute those across the top. Or if you wanna go no nuts, that's cool too. And we're gonna bake this guy. And I usually bake it covered. You can use like a silicone like baking lid, or, you know, wrap it in aluminum foil, whatever works for you. And we're gonna go 400 degrees and somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 minutes. So you wanna get it hot, you wanna get all that sugar melting, the butter melting, and then after about 20 minutes, you can uncover it. And I can make a case for 2 methods here. One, put it in the oven and just keep going until like the top browns up, and it's gonna probably take like another 15 minutes or so. Or you can just just broil it and then just manage it and get it browned on the top how you want it. And I think this looks really nice. Marshmallows kind of like toasted, like kind of like almost like that perfect gold, like brown color that you get when you're roasting marshmallows. So we get like some of that crisp texture on top, and then we've got a lot of sweet gooiness happening inside. You got the crunch from the nuts. From here, I mean, hey, it's Thanksgiving. It's going to the table, served kind of family style. At our house, we raise Muscovy ducks, and they make us ducklings, and they raise those ducklings, and then I make those ducklings have a migration to the freezer. So for our Thanksgiving dinner, we always do pan roasted duck breast and confit duck legs. So that's what's going on the plate here, and just some simple things to start, and then there's a bunch of other things on the side at the table. We got some mashed potatoes, we've got some slow braised cabbage with bacon and caraway seeds and onions, and then of course our candied butternut squash. Simple adaptation. We're taking something that, you know, a lot of times yams, people would just bail out and do the canned thing, canned yams to make candied yams. It's not that good. It would be a step up if you really wanted to keep the yams happening, or the sweet potatoes. Roast them, bake them with the skins, and make them for real. But I think going candied pumpkin butternut squash, whatever, is a huge step forward, and it's a little bit more interesting at the table. And a little bit easier to eat. You don't end up with just like a big wedge of yam or sweet potato. You've got like all these little diced pieces which distribute themselves a little bit more equally into your meal. Now, somebody's gonna say, but we're gonna have pumpkin pie. And yes, that's fine. You can have pumpkin pie, and this is, you know, similar, but it's different. You know, different texture. I would say a little bit different flavor, because the pumpkin pie is going to have the cardamom and the nutmeg and a little bit more of the warmer fall flavors. However, I could also say, like, well, since we're having like pumpkin squash, whatever, with dinner, skip the pumpkin pie and just do apple pie. You can have just an amazing apple pie with homemade whipped cream, homemade vanilla ice cream, and you're kind of good to go. So link in the description for apple pie, because you're going to need an apple pie for Thanksgiving too, right? Of course you are.